Even in winter, creativity is growing. And that's the inspiration behind a January's Maker's Box from Sonnet Garden Blooms. Hi, I'm Sylvia with Backyard Brushes in Fountain City, Wisconsin. And it is cold and snowy here. And this month's Maker's Box is a great reminder and full of inspiration that spring is just around the corner. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's get creating. In this month's box, we have Faded Rose Cloth and English Rose Ticking by Roycycled Decoupage Papers. From Connie the Painted Photographer, we have Snowy Day and Rose Garden Rice Papers. And from Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, Trellis Rose. DIY Milk Paint brings Kissing Booth and Mint Chip. And for Fusion Mineral Paint, we have Tapestry and Rose Water. And as always, we have a beautiful thank you card and napkin from Sonnet. And don't forget, there's also the digital downloads. For project 1, I'm using a leftover wood heart that I had in my garage, leftover from some workshops a couple years ago. Using the Mint Chip by DIY Paint, I covered the heart with 2 coats of paint. And not surprising, I don't do a lot for Valentine's Day. It's really not a big seller in my shop. So it is kind of nice to get a heart out there before February comes. Using DIY liquid patina, I sprayed my rice paper with water first. I lightly misted it. Then I used the DIY liquid patina to adhere the rice paper to the heart. Misting the water does help loosen the fibers and helps minimize the wrinkles. Once it was adhered, I just gave it a light coat of the liquid patina to give it kind of a top coat. Using my finger sander, I just went up and down and I made my way all the way around the heart. I know you would probably guess I'd be burning the paper, but I did choose to use the sander. And the very bottom tip of the heart wasn't covered. So on the side, I'm just mixing up a little of the mint chip with some faded burlap, and I'm just dappling it right in and blending it into the paper. And at the end, you can't even tell the difference between the paint and the rice paper. That's what's nice when Connie uses the DIY paints. Using the DIY dark wax, I just tapped around the edges of the heart to give it kind of that older distressed look to finish it up. And I just gently went around the whole heart. What I did not show was I did add a hook onto the back so that the heart could be hung. For project 2, I started out by mixing up a scoopful of the Trellis Rose, 1 part powder to 1 part water, and I let it sit so that the pigments could absorb into the water. I decided to use one of these, I call them cheese boards. I have a stack of them. My parents actually used to use them to serve hors d'oeuvres when they'd have dinner parties and barbecues. So I went around the edge of the board, the wood round, with the Park Bench by Fusion, which we received in our box last month. And I did flip it over to make sure I covered the back of the round. Once it was dry, I did coat the wood round with 2 coats of the Trellis by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. Once it was dry, I flipped it around and I went around the edges and I completely covered the park bench. After the milk paint dried, I just used my finger sander and I lightly sanded the edge of the wood so that the green could come through underneath the pink. Using White Swan by DIY, which was from a previous maker's box, I painted the centerpiece of the wood round. I chose the English Rose Ticking by Recycled Decoupage paper. At least I think that's the right title. It was the one that had the smaller blooms, but a larger portion of them. And it's faded nicely to be used as a background. I cut out a piece of paper, misted the decoupage paper to loosen up the fibers, and I used DIY liquid patina to place the decoupage paper onto the wood round. I did start in sections where I applied the liquid patina on one portion, I think about 1/3 of the wood round, and then I just placed the paper on top and used my fingers to kind of smooth it out, trying to minimize wrinkles. And I just laid her down, used my fingers, and then I would lift up the paper and add more DIY liquid patina. And I just kind of slowly made my way across the paper. Once I was comfortable with the placement of the rice paper, I used the finger sander and I went up and down on the edges of the paper, and it was a little bit more difficult because of the way the lip of the wood was. So I just gently went around until I was able to peel off the paper. I did seal the top of the decoupage paper again with the DIY liquid patina. I used the quick drying resin and a Prima mold to cast these birds, and using the Fusion mineral paint and rose water, I completely covered the birds. And since Fusion does not need a top coat, I went right over it with the DIY dark wax, covered the whole mold, and then I just used a paper towel to take off that extra wax, leaving the wax into the details of the mold. And I just love this mold. I usually use the IOD molds, but this is one of my favorite molds. Using Fusion's gold gilding wax, I just used my fingers and lightly went on top of the birds, giving it a slight buff of the gold gilding wax. I decided to seal the decoupage paper one more time using matte golden just to help protect the paper from ripping. Using E6000, I covered the back of the birds with the glue, and I just placed the birds onto the board, kind of just what I felt was appeasing to my eye. Let it sit overnight, and then I added a hook onto the back of the board so that it could be hung by whoever might purchase it if I don't keep it for myself. I'd probably sell this for $15 to $17 at my shop. For project 3, I decided to use this basket that I had thrifted for $1 at a garage sale this past summer. And this is probably a little bit more, of the 3 projects, the most difficult, or it's not really difficult, but time consuming. I did start out by painting the inner layer of the basket with the Tapestry by Fusion Mineral Paint. And using the Fusion for this was nice because I didn't have to go back and repaint all of this with a top coat to seal the paint. Once that was dry, I again went with the Park Bench by last month's Fusion's Mineral Paint, and I went around the handle and the edges of the basket. Normally, I would have probably done this at the end, but due to the intricacy of the project, I just decided to do this before decoupaging. And I just took my time with a small brush and I just went around those edges, borders with the Park Bench green paint by Fusion. Using beadboard by DIY, I slowly took my time and I painted the outer strips of the basket. And I just slowly made my way around the basket, taking my time just to make sure it was fully covered. I chose to use the napkin from this month's box, and it peeled really nicely. As I unfolded it, that second layer came right off. I didn't even have to fight to get it off. And I cut the napkin in half. And using DIY by using liquid patina by DIY, I covered this one strip at a time with the DIY liquid patina, and I adhered the napkin. Once I felt it was adhered, and I used my fingers to press out the wrinkles, I would cut around the strip, and then I would just move on to the next strip. And I went from like the top to the bottom, back up to the top to the bottom. And I just made my way all the way around the basket. And I just took my time. And after I adhered each strip of the napkin to the basket, I did go over and give it and sealed it with a coat of the liquid patina by DIY. After the napkin was adhered to this, well, the strips were complete and the napkin was adhered and dry, I used the finger sander and I just went around the edges of the napkin. I used my little weeding tool for vinyl to push the edges of the napkins underneath the edges. And I just slowly made my way around the basket. Once it was fully complete, I did go back and give it another coat of liquid patina by DIY just to ensure that the napkin was adhered and sealed to the basket. Fusion paint does not need to be sealed, so I was able to take my brush and go around the green paint, the Park Bench by Fusion, with the dark wax by DIY, and I covered all the green with the wax, and I just used a paper towel to gently remove the excess wax. And it just kind of darkened up the green so that it wasn't so bright. And I did choose this green instead of the mint chip because I just felt like it complemented the napkin better. And I did the same thing with the back of the basket. I covered it with wax and then I used a paper towel just to give it more of that completed look. I would love to know which one of these 3 projects was your favorite, or if any of these projects helped inspire you for the upcoming spring season. Let me know in the comments below. I will also leave a link in the description. If you're not already receiving Sonnet's Maker's Box, you can skip the wait and start receiving yours now. If you found this video inspirational, please hit subscribe below and follow me along on my creative journey. Thank you.